What's up, everybody? All right. We've got an overtime stream for y'all. It's been a little while. I know we've had kind of a big break, and I apologize for that. But hey, man, it's going to be me running this one. I apologize if it's a little rougher than when Stewie runs stream, but I'm joined by two of my favorite people in this league. I'm so excited. Two first-time people appearing on their first ever overtime cast. Clash, Bubbly. Yeah, boys, we've got
Hello.
bunch of stuff to talk about, and I got a feeling we got a bunch of opinions to go over. I changed this
Oh yeah.
screen. I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, that's right. Hi, Bubbly, how you doing today, man? I know you came off of work and then pretty much hopped on
Oh
here right
yeah.
after.
I came right off work. I'm excited for this overtime stream. I was so excited. I rushed home just to be an hour early to get here. Sat here while you were setting everything up, still finalizing, because you came off of work too, right?
I didn't. No, I'm a
Oh,
degenerate that only works a couple days a week. But the other guy here didn't come off of work. I know that he is up right now between shifts. Speaking of Clash, how you doing,
ooh.
man?
Hello, hello. Yes, yeah, I did work this morning, and
You work tonight.
I, yep, and I worked tonight, and I had a big long nap during the day. Yeah, and now I'm awake. So I'm still waking up a little bit, but that's okay. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so excited, man. No, yeah, sick cast we got lined up for you guys. Let's go ahead and throw it over to the. Oh man, I put the schedule in a weird spot, didn't I? Standings. No, don't look at that.
Don't look at that.
Shit.
No.
Where did it go? Schedule. Wrong schedule. All
There's a
right.
schedule somewhere.
I don't know where it went. We're just going to hop in. So we're going to do a quick recap of week one for the major. We're going to get some predictions from all three of us. We're going to live make a bracket for what we think the week two of our second major is going to go. And then I got a little trivia for you guys. So rather than dragging this out, I think we're just going to hop into it. So up first, we're going to go Rising Star, Challenger, and Premier for all three of these. So we're going to start off looking at the Rising Star Major right here for you guys. Before we jump into this, obviously, this whole major got kind of thrown off due to a DQ early on. Hibbing Rangers were DQ'd due to having a player... there's another person playing on a player's account who wasn't the original signed-up player. So just to address that stuff real quick, it was brought to our attention that Brickwall had somebody else playing on his account. The original allegations were due to the camera settings looking weird. We did some investigating. We found out that there was for sure somebody else playing on his account. Now, luckily, none of the teams that lost to Hibbing were eliminated. Every team that lost to them still were able to qualify out. But due to that, it really did shift the Rising Star single elimination bracket. I know my team, Green Bay, was pretty disappointed to see Rochester in our half of the bracket, and we'll definitely touch base on that. But as far as it goes, it could have been more disruptive. But ultimately, you know, we got to have a hard stance on this kind of stuff. And regardless of what players knew and what players didn't know, there was just nothing that we can do about that. So there may be some future rulings coming out about that based upon how things shake out, because Hibbing can still technically qualify based upon their points. But as far as we're currently concerned, Hibbing is out of the running for LAN, and that's just how we're going to treat this. But for Rising Star, I mean, what were your guys' takes? Bubbly, if you want to go first. I know you're not super in tune with Rising Star, but do you have any thoughts on how this kind of shook out for him?
Fortitude, but just going back watching the VOD from the stream that I missed. I think the only big surprise for me was that third round matchup. Rochester got swept by Brainerd,
Yep.
and you'll see in the single elimination they play each other round one, which is big revenge match for Rochester. I think just from the few people I've talked to about Rising Star, a lot of people were expecting Rochester to be like the 1 or 2 seed going into that single, and that put them in the round 5 matchup. They're barely qualifying for the single elim, so I'm excited for that matchup.
Was that the only loss that Rochester took? Going over here
Other
quick.
than him.
That was, yeah, other than the Hibbing matchup. Clash, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, the Brainerd versus Rhythm is the craziest one. One of the craziest matchups to me because yeah, we're going to be seeing that one again. But I also want to talk about the Senators. Um,
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
they are the 15th seed, like second to last in the league for uh, as far as standings go, but they qualified through and they are the third seed going into the bracket. So way overperforming expectations. They looked really good, defeating a few teams along the way. Lumberjacks, who are uh, in the bracket, beat the Steelhawks, who were really high seeded. They were able to beat them, and the Steelhawks eventually fell out. Yeah, Senators. That was probably the biggest surprise to me. The biggest surprise throughout the stage, not an individual series, but Senators doing very well.
Yeah, I mean, as a rising star player and somebody who's been around the league for a long time, I wasn't too surprised to see them go off that hard. That shift they made later in the season, I believe they picked up Dinger. They dropped Firecraft to sub, I want to say. I know that they had some issues with connectivity with Firecraft, just his internet wasn't holding up to it. And that kind of forced them into a position where they had to shift players. But I mean, that team has so much potential. Caesar, the only three-time land winner in the league right now. I'm not too crazy surprised to see them push through, but definitely from that 15th seed slot, they have to do a lot in order to qualify for land. I mean, Bubbly,
Yeah.
do you know off the top of your head what do they need to win, or have they qualified? I don't think that they've qualified quite yet
No,
out
they have not.
of.
I think they still need to win one or two more. Because I think right now they're in
I believe it's
13th
two.
place, even with
Oh
the
wow, they have
points
to do.
coming
Yeah,
out
that's
so far.
right. And
So they
with
have to do
Bloomington in
pretty
front
well.
of them, they really need
Yeah.
to. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and we'll jump over to Challenger real quick. We definitely had some upsets seeing Green Bay. I think Green Bay was the biggest upset that we saw qualify. No, Brainerd also qualifying through that. Bubbly, your thoughts on Challenger real quick?
My thoughts on Challenger, this one I didn't watch as much, um, because I was also working during the Challenger one, which was upsetting. Because I think there were a lot of fun matchups that I didn't get to see. Like, I think it just, like, from what I saw, it just looked really close, like, all the way throughout. Like, there weren't a lot of blowout
I think we
wins.
had more
Like,
game
just looking
fives in
back
this than
through the
anything else.
replays. Yeah, like especially that round one, there were a lot of game fives. But even like just because I do the stats, so I'm looking at all the replays, all the games looked like relatively close all throughout Challenger.
Hmm.
So I think that's like my biggest takeaway because yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely was one of the tighter leagues. We saw a few upsets, like the number two seed St. Paul getting dropped, but Clash, your team kind of falling short from there, unfortunately, and not quite making
Yeah.
that playoff run. What are your thoughts on how Challenger shaped out, especially as a Challenger player? I mean, you've been here all season.
Yeah, for sure. The biggest upset of all is the Bloomington Maulers falling out. So, um, but yeah, we had some really good, surprising teams again. I mean, again, I think Challenger consistently through at least a couple seasons that I've played has been the most competitive. Even if you're the number one seed, the number 16 seed has a chance to beat you. Like
Absolutely.
it really, I feel like it really is competitive the whole way. Couple teams that really surprised me. We played the Flyers, and they looked great. They tend to play a slower play style, which is very interesting, but they're so methodical with it that it's hard to play against. So that definitely threw us for a loop when we played them. But also can't ignore the Green Bay Knights being the 15th seed. They struggled all season to get something going, but they looked really good, like really good this major. And if they can keep that up through uh, on Friday, like they could be dangerous. It's gonna be hard though because obviously they haven't been as consistent as we've been looking for. But
Yeah,
yeah, Green
it's
Bay.
it's good you bring that up. So something that we've kind of dealt with over the last couple of weeks is we've had some teams who know that they're going to be off stream requesting to be able to reschedule their match in order to have their full roster. But Rocket League is such a game day esport. I mean, there's very few other games where uh, how one single person performs can completely tear down the rest of the team. And if you're having an off day or if you're having the best day, that completely shifts how a roster can perform when it
100%.
comes to, just how the matchups shape up. So, yeah, I agreed on how St. Cloud kind of shifted, especially, they had some changes in that roster, picking up Schlonkers during that second trade window. Pretty curious to see how they're going to shape up. We'll get to that in a little bit. But last, not least, Premier. Yeah, I mean, Premier was very exciting. One of my favorite streams I've gotten to run of all time. Bubbly as look, man, I had you in my top three. I had such high
Me too.
hopes for your team from the beginning. I mean, you guys looked like such a strong roster. I know you guys had some issues with having a full roster on game days, but run me through your thoughts on the Premier Major.
Like you said, for the Challenger, Rocket League's such a game day thing. So, if one person stopped playing well, maybe you lose a series you shouldn't have. When two or three people aren't playing as well, then maybe you go 0-9. It just happens sometimes. But there were still a lot of good matchups, and I think like all 8 teams that qualified through Swiss are all looking like really hot teams where I feel like
Agreed.
any of them could win with their full roster, but maybe not Chicago. So
Maybe not Chicago. Yeah, I got an agreement. I think we're all on the
Yeah.
same page there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clash, what are your thoughts on the Premier Major?
Yeah, again, I was really sad to see your team go out because I like exactly like Quick said. I had a lot of expectations throughout the season. I mentioned to you, Bubbly, when I saw Bubbly and Tater on the same roster, I was secretly hoping that maybe I could have gone Premier and got picked up by their team, but that didn't happen. But yeah, it was yeah, a little saddened by that one. Of course, the Maulers, I'm always saddened by. I was following their I was playing for them actually in that. I thought we did pretty well for having me playing in that roster, but yeah. And then you get some. Yeah, I think we got the 8 best teams, other than maybe the Buffalo and maybe maybe Chicago, because I do want to mention in the general chat there was a little mention that they might not have their full roster in this major, so that's going to definitely influence
Yeah,
how we think that they're going to
I
do.
think that's confirmed. The other team that was a surprise to me was Duluth. That was a
Yeah,
roster
true.
who, I mean, I had super high expectations for, regardless of the major. I mean, once they picked up Chicken, I thought that team was going to be a force to contend with, but they looked off throughout the Premier Week 1 major. And so, Bubbly, I don't think that you guys had to play them. Did you play them at all with their full
No.
roster? With their new team?
Personally, never played them with their full roster, but
Okay.
even just watching it didn't look like they all clicked super well together. Like there
Yeah.
just wasn't enough time to figure out the play styles to match. And I think when they picked up Chicken, they were like, "Oh, we're like a super team. We're all really good." But the rotations and the play style was so important that
Yeah.
just didn't have the time to figure that
Well,
out.
and it's
But
unfortunate they had to play against Bryant. I mean, he popped off in that series. Like I don't think there was anything that the Superiors could have done that Bryant couldn't have adapted to.
Mhm.
So we'll get to that stuff in a little bit, but sweet. That is everything I wanted to go over. Just a quick recap from week 1. I apologize for how your display keeps on shifting and whatnot. I'm not used to streaming like this. But so the three of us are going to go ahead and throw together how we think Rising Star is going to shape out. We're going to go top to bottom. And we're just going to run through exactly like we did there, Rising Star through Premier. But up first, Green Bay versus Maulers heading into week 2. I think we all have Green Bay going 4 in this one, Clash. If you want to tell me I'm wrong, feel free.
No,
But
it's impossible to argue the consistency of Knights. I know you guys have them 4-0. I think Maulers can definitely, and I think will take at least a game.
I don't.
I have them
Go
taking.
ahead and
I
pull
have
up.
them taking 2,
I
but I,
and they
I I think if we're trying to average out our predictions, I think 4-1 is Very
If
reasonable.
we see the Maulers that showed up during the major week 1, I would not be surprised to see him take a couple games off of Green Bay. But yeah, I
But
mean,
they also played in the major week 1,
they
and
did.
Yes.
they
Yeah.
swept them.
Yeah, they did.
So
They did.
Kirby and Divine is such a deadly combo. They just need to figure out the defensive side of it. They're so aggressive on the offensive side, and they are so successful when they're doing that, but they just have no back check. There's no rotations when the other team picks up the ball going the other way. And I don't want to spoil too much more because I want my team to capitalize on it. But yeah, I think that we're all in agreement. Green Bay takes that one.
Mhm.
Brainerd versus Rochester. I don't think any of us are in disagreement about how this one shapes up, right? Rochester wins.
So,
yeah,
so, so
interesting.
I think we do need to talk about it though, because I mean, again, like we mentioned a couple times earlier, this is a rematch from the major, and Victory did take it in that,
Sweet.
and in a sweep.
Mhm.
And it was like 4-1, 5-1.
hmm
And I think in my prediction I had Rochester winning, but I think Brainerd could win,
Oh,
maybe,
absolutely.
but it just feels like Rochester, they can't play that bad again. Like, not to
Agreed.
take away from Brainerd's win, but when your best player is putting up 200 points a game, it's like that's probably like the lowest low you
I
know.
had this one going to 7. Just taking a quick look. I don't think either of you guys had this one going to 7. Yeah, no, both of you guys are agreed that this one goes to Rochester in 6. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, definitely Rochester on this one. We'll say this one goes to 7. I'll give them a little bit of an edge,
Mhm.
depending on how Ori shows up in the day, because he really is the carry for that Brainerd squad. It definitely could shift from there. But that's going to be probably the match to watch tomorrow. If you guys tune in 6 o'clock, quick shout out. That's going to be pretty exciting there. Burnsville versus the Lumberjacks. Now, going back real quick to how I talked about Hibbing getting DQ'd, they were the number 2 seed. Burnsville took their slot. This shifted everything. Originally, my team thought that we were going to be playing Bemidji, and we felt pretty good about that. We don't feel quite as good playing against this Bloomington squad, just given their pop-up potential. So we're a little sad to see Bemidji shift down, and very sad to see Rochester on our half of the bracket. But in this matchup, I believe I had Burnsville taking this one 4-2. Bubbly, what do you think on this matchup?
I think I was 4-1, pretty similar. Where, I don't know, just like looking at the results from the season, Bemidji seems like a team they either like sweep and are popping off, or they get swept
True.
and can't do anything. And I feel like once they're up against a Burnsville team that's like, we're fighting for a top 4 spot, that if Burnsville shows up, they're just gonna stomp Bemidji, I think.
Clash,
Yeah.
do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I also have Inferno. I had him in 5. I think Bubbly did as well. I think Lumberjacks losing Bendy Straw a few weeks ago definitely hurt. I think Bendy Straw was a great player for Rising Star. Him being in second round is still crazy to me. I think he definitely
Who
should have at least
replaced
been first
him?
round.
Was that Fiddles? That wasn't Fiddlesticks, was it?
No, who did Cripplify, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and he popped
Yeah.
off last season. I mean, we saw him
Yeah, no,
perform very well.
Cripplify is a great player. I just really rate Bendy Straw, and I think that changed the dynamic of the roster. I don't want to say in a bad way, but I guess that's exactly what I'm saying, just slightly for the negative. And I think Inferno in that major looked so good. It wasn't until they played Rangers, and we know how that what was going on with that one, that they got stopped, and that was a crazy close series between Inferno and Rangers, even with that whole situation that happened. So that just shows how well Inferno were doing into that major.
Yeah, agreed. And I think Burnsville is a very offensive heavy team, and that even though Bemidji is pretty defensively focused, especially with CTN being on that squad, CTN is kind of known as that role player, that position player who can fill in whatever needs to be done, but they definitely excel on the defensive side when the other team isn't able to get many shots off. I just kind of expect Burnsville to run away with that one. So cool. We're all in agreement there. I do believe we all filled these out beforehand, and we're all pretty similar as far as Rising Star and Challenger goes. But jumping through them, St. Paul Senators, Des Moines Derecho, I have the Senators taking this one. I think that they're just too solid in their current roster. Do either of you guys disagree? I think we all
I
kind of
think we
had this
both
one going
do.
the same. You guys, oh,
No,
wait,
we both disagree.
hold up. Did I disagree as well? I don't. Maybe I'm
I
misremembering.
had derecho winning,
You
but I
guys
had
had
both
derecho
have
winning.
derecho winning. Okay, I'm the
Yeah.
only. Okay, well, so Bubbly, what do you think that derecho has over St. Paul?
So, to be honest, I don't know the other players on either team other than T-Jack
You've never
on
heard of
derecho and
Caesar
Caesar on St.
or
Paul.
Dinger,
So
the clock
I have not
tower?
heard of Dinger. No. So in my mind, I'm like T-Jack versus Caesar, and T-Jack is like he can carry a team. He's like I'm gonna score goals, and Caesar's more like I'm gonna create chances for my team.
That's a good way to look at
Gonna
that.
pass, get a demo.
Yeah.
And so I'm like T-Jack. If he's leading the charge against Caesar leading a charge, I think T-Jack just edges it out. But I think both of them are very good players, and I don't know enough about the other two players on either team to make a more informed decision. So
Clash, are
maybe you
you
guys
along
can
the
fill me in.
same? Yeah, are you thinking along the same kind of line of thought there, or where are you thinking on this matchup?
Uh, for me, I just really like the consistency that we've seen from derecho all season. They came into this
True.
major as the second seed, and Senators are the 15th seed. Like, I if they play how they did in the major, I think this is very, very close. I think Senators got I don't want to say an easy run, but as about as easy as it could have been, other than I believe they did upset the Steelhawks, but the Steelhawks didn't really look
Steelhawks
great on the
really
day.
didn't look great.
So I hate to keep doubting the Senators because I know I doubted them in the major and then they proved me wrong. But I think I I have a lot more faith in derecho. I think they played a more consistent season.
Okay.
Had pretty tough matchups that I mean, they couldn't. Obviously they didn't do as great as they wanted to. They had to go through round 5, but I have more faith in derecho long term.
Okay.
But
We'll go
this one's
majority
close.
rule on
This one's
this one. I
close.
definitely think St. Paul takes this normally, but Green Bay versus Rochester. I think we all landed on this matchup here. I mean, to give my opinions real quick, if Rochester plays like how they did against every team besides Brainerd, I think they have to take this one. I love my
Yeah.
boys, but Rochester looks so solid, and they have a lot riding on this. They're looking for that top 4 spot versus my team. If we make it to this round, we auto take top 4. Bubbly, do you disagree or?
Yeah, I'm like Rochester's still fighting for that top 4 spot. Green Bay's not. Not to air
Mm.
out the pre-stream talk, but Quick was like Rochester's the only team we're scared of coming into the
Yeah. Oh man, we're pissed.
bracket,
We are
and
not
we're on the
happy about
same
this.
side of the bracket. So I'm like, well, if even Quick's scared of them, they gotta be good.
Yeah.
So,
Clash, you on the same page?
100%. Yeah. Rhythm, they're just such a solid squad. I mean, Lord and Blodot being on the same
What?
team
Who let that
in
happen?
Rising
Oh my
Star
gosh,
is
dude.
just crazy.
Mal, I saw you in the chat earlier. WTF, man? This is all your fault.
Yeah, how dare you? How dare you want to go to Challenger?
Yeah, I'm not crazy about this, but now I have Green Bay. I have them going 2 and 4. I think we all had pretty similar stuff there. Rochester definitely taking that one. Now this Burnsville versus derecho matchup is pretty interesting. Bubbly, give me your opinions before I dive into mine.
my opinions are: I want to predict one big upset. I think derecho, even though they're like probably top 4, probably clinched, I still think Burnsville's the favorite going into it. Just like based on the results from the first week of the major. So I'm like, I think derecho, they're gonna come in, they're gonna be confident, they're just gonna be having fun, and I think they're gonna style on them, make it to the finals.
Oh, okay. Clash, where are you thinking?
Oh, yeah.
I'm still rewarding consistency throughout the season. It all depends on how people play on the day. I would agree that if they played how they did in that first week of the major, I think Inferno are actually the favorites here.
Man,
But
yeah.
derecho are easily it's not close. Easily the favorites if we take the whole season into account. So I think with both of those being weighed side by side, I think I would favor derecho in this matchup. But I could really see either way.
Yeah, I
But no
mean,
style.
I had St. Paul getting to this round, and I had Burnsville winning in St. Paul versus Burnsville. So I think that St. Paul looked really, really solid in the last major, and so I would have given them an edge. But given that both of you guys are kind of favoring the derecho, I gotta agree with the looking at how the season shaped out. I definitely kind of was favoring how the major was looking more than how the whole season went. I do gotta agree. T-Jack is so solid. I mean, the amount of times that he's made land in Rising Star, somebody has to put this guy in a challenger team at this point, for the love of God. Get him out of the league that I'm playing in. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see this go this far. Now, does anybody disagree that Rochester wins in this final matchup?
See, I had Rochester sweeping derecho.
Yeah, I had
So,
Rochester winning against Burnsville.
yeah.
Clash.
I think derecho can put up a good fight, but
You'll give
no,
them
I
one
don't
game?
disagree. I don't disagree.
We'll give him
No,
2 games. We'll give him 2 games. We'll be
I
nice.
honestly have it going to 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think derecho can put up a really good fight, but I do have them winning.
Awesome. Yeah, we are all in agreement that Rochester goes the distance on this one. I mean, they're just such a solid squad. So I don't think there's anything more we need to divulge on this one. There could definitely be some upsets, which I think is what has made this major so exciting. So let's go ahead and hop over to the challenger side of things, where we did see a handful of upsets yesterday. Burnsville versus Chicago. We're going to touch base on Chicago a little bit later when we come to Premier. I believe we have some insider knowledge that might be outsider knowledge at this point. But Burnsville versus Chicago. Bubbly, who do you got on this one?
See, this is my one. Like, I don't know too much.
I had this
They're
going
in
to 7.
Yeah, I did too. They're in pretty
I did
similar
too.
position and standings, but just because Burnsville came out so hot in the week 1, I gave the edge to them. Gave them the 4-3 win. But I think this is like, if Mankato Atlas versus Bemidji wasn't on stream, I would have loved to see this matchup on stream.
100%. I agree. Clash, do you disagree with that at all, or what are your thoughts?
I do not disagree. Yeah, I think Inferno, they did so well in the major. And I think both of these teams prior to the major were very, very similar as far as my personal power rankings. And the edge that they got in that major is just, I mean, Inferno looked really good. So yes, I agree. I think it could be very close, and it probably will be very close. But yeah, I do have Inferno as well.
What seed was St. Paul coming? Okay, so they were pretty close, or Burnsville, sorry.
Coming into the major?
Coming into the major, they would have been at 40, so they probably would have been like the 10 to 12
Burnsville's 12 and Chicago was 7.
before. Okay, so definitely a big upset there. But yeah, I gotta agree. We'll say this one goes to 7, but Burnsville looked super solid. So taking recency bias into effect, we gotta assume that there. But recency bias as well. Heading into this next one here, Green Bay versus Brainerd. Brainerd last versus in Rising Star. We didn't feel too crazy about their matchup. How are we feeling about Brainerd here, Bubbly?
It's difficult because they still only have 2 people on the roster officially, I think.
Yeah,
So
I believe
Brainerd's
Ori is
like-
still subbing up.
Yeah, they're like a big question mark for me because I feel like the gap between Ao and Ori is like very large. And like in the most respectful way possible, I don't know how they play as a team with that big of a skill gap. But also, no offense to you, Quick, they're playing the Green Bay Knights, where I feel like I'm not sure if they were in my book for top 8 team coming into the second week of the major. And so this whole matchup to me is, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I'm throwing faith in Ao, so go Brainerd.
Nothing. I mean, 2-time Premier champion. AO has
Yeah.
history in this league of being successful. Clash, what are your thoughts?
I am thinking the exact same way Bubbly is. I think this one, more than any other, is a toss-up. Knights looked really good in that major, but they haven't looked good all season. Brainerd, I don't know what's going on with Brainerd. I feel like exactly what Bubbly said. I'm not sure how good they actually are.
Yeah.
It's It's very difficult to predict. I do have it in favor of victory, personally, just because this again, my I think the most important thing right now is consistency. Obviously, there can be pop-offs during each individual day, but all I have really to go off on is what has happened throughout the season. So
Yeah,
I
no,
think victory had been a little more consistent.
the individual day thing that I was looking at was game day. I combined those two words. Was it really is going to depend on how Ori performs in this series. I think he performed very well last week. So if he can do the same thing, I would give Brainerd the edge in that one. I had Green Bay giving the edge, but given that both of you two guys completely disagree with me and think I'm totally wrong on that one,
No,
spitting on my
No.
grave, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Counteracting your
We'll give
bias.
Brainerd
That's
the
it.
edge on that one. No. Mankato versus Bemidji. Bemidji last week looking pretty solid, qualing through in the 7th seed. Bubbly, take us through your thoughts real quick on this one.
My thoughts are. See, now I have to look back at the Swiss to remember why I predicted this. Because Bemidji, their series they won, they were playing like lower seeded teams.
Mm-hmm.
But when they won, they were like winning in sweeps. They like really
Bob,
convincing.
for whatever
And then-
reason, just pops off in these stressful scenarios. I do
And
not
then
understand it.
round 5, taking out the 2 seed Senators, like that's got to be like a feel good motivator. Be like, oh yeah, we can beat anybody. So I gave the edge to them, but I think like Clash has been saying, the consistency. I think Mankato's more consistent. I picked Bemidji just because I think the pop off is there. I believe in it. The confidence they show up, they're like, we're gonna get a top 4 seed. But I can see it going either way. Another fun stream match I'm excited for.
Not to spoil it, but you're the only person who thinks that. Clash, why do you think Mankato wins this series?
Obviously, I'm the challenger expert in this call right now.
Yes.
I've played against all these teams. I've scrimmed against Atlas a few times, and whenever we scrimmed them, it felt like we could do nothing. They were so strong in the air, so strong mechanically. Gatman and Tox are insane. Mal is such a good support player. I think I was surprised that they didn't. Once they brought on those two, I was surprised that they didn't nearly go undefeated. They look so strong. I have this really in favor of Atlas. I have them taking it in 5.
Yeah, you and I had the exact same score on this one. Gatman, he was the #1 goal scorer in Challenger. Throughout everything, like he just has performed so solidly. Super cool to see him have this crazy season here in Challenger. But I agree. I had Mankato taking this one in 5. Bemidji is a solid squad. They're a great underdog squad. I don't think that they look crazy strong on
100%.
paper, but they've proven us wrong in the past, and I would love to see them prove us wrong on stream on Friday. But final round 1 for Challenger, Rochester versus St. Cloud. Were we all in agreement on this one? No, Bubbly, the outlier on this one.
Again.
Go ahead and walk us through your thoughts on this.
My thoughts on this. Dicey and Lubick, they have the chemistry. I think last season they played with Cole, right?
Yes.
Challenger and
And they had
Mainland.
that crazy clip on land from Wubik at one of the top.
Yeah.
Which one? There
The
were so many.
the reset double tap off of the backboard, just nuts.
It was must
So
be
I think,
crazy. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Rochester, they have the chemistry. I think St. Cloud, they have the structure.
I
I
agree.
really like 40.
Honestly.
I've played up against him in Challenger. I've played against him for LCS scrims. I really like how he approaches the game. And, I think Schlonkers was a mid-season's trade or sub roster change, if I'm not wrong. And, I think unexpected. You never know what can happen on the game day. I like how he approaches the game more than I like how Rochester does it. And so I think the upset's there. I believe in it.
Interesting. Okay, well then, Clash, why do we disagree?
Well,
We
first off, I want to mention I think that is very possible. I really do like the Flyers. Like I mentioned earlier, they kind of just their play style worked so well against how we played them in round 4 of Swiss. They they take a very methodical approach to everything they do. If the game from the series in round 3 to the series in round 4 slowed down like 10 notches. It was crazy. We had to completely adjust. Flyers forced us to play their play style, and that kind of play can be so powerful. So Flyers, the matchup against Rhythm, I think they have a solid chance. That being said, I think Wubik, in my opinion, is the best player in Challenger.
Oh.
Um,
Ooh.
I think he is very, very solid. I hate playing against that man. I wish I could play with them at some point. But yeah, I think I do favor Rhythm here, but I don't want to say Flyers are out of it at all because I think they could put up a really good fight.
Yeah, I mean, I also have Rochester taking this one. I mean, the Dicey buff is so real. The guy is such a good coach, and he's proven it season after season. And whether you're directly on his team or just part of his franchise, we have seen so many players gain so much skill just by being involved with this guy. I mean, looking at Stratus, one of the players who went from prospect up to arguably a premier level player purely because of Dicey. Yeah, I mean, I gotta give it to him as well.
Stratus.
No credit to
No
Stratus.
credit.
Stratus just sat back.
No.
Dicey dragged him up there, but no. The Dicey buff is real, and given that he's playing with Wubik again and Olvi, who he took a shot on, Olvi played really good in the Premier. Obviously in the premier games that he had to sub up. I know they had a bunch of subs throughout that, but we got to see him on stream. He looks very solid. I also have them taking it. The number 1 seed versus the number 5 seed, though, Burnsville versus Brainerd. Were we all in agreement on this one? It looks like we're all in agreement on this one, that Burnsville takes this one if they play like they did last week. Does anybody disagree with that or have any thoughts about why Brainerd might be able to put a dog in the fight?
I think
mean-
especially after coming off a close series with Chicago, I think whoever wins that series between Burnsville and Chicago is just gonna roll over Brainerd or
Yeah.
Green Bay.
Agreed.
So sorry to cut you off, Clash.
No, you're good. Like we mentioned earlier, I think we all really don't know what we're getting out of Knights and Victory. I think whoever comes out of that one could actually be really hot and could put up a fight. Unfortunately, we're playing on the word could there.
Yeah.
I think Inferno, waits to know how they played that major. They are looking really good, and I think we'll have to favor them in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I have my boys taking it in round 1. As much as I would love to see them go the distance, we need that top 4 in order to, or a top 2. I don't know, whatever. Regardless, but I still have Burnsville taking this one. They just look so solid heading into this major that it's difficult to give them. Yeah, we'll give them 1. We'll give them 1 on that one. But Atlas versus Rhythm. I believe that this is how we almost all had this one coming up, besides somebody that's here. And we're going to let that guy talk first, given he's got some fresh opinions.
No.
Bubbly, what do you think about this Atlas versus Rochester matchup?
Well, see, I did not look into them as much against each other because I was like, they're both gonna lose, I think. But if I'm just going off of like what you guys were talking about, I think that Rochester, they still have that team chemistry. If Wubik's the best in the league, like you're saying, I think he has that pop-off potential. Where Mankato, I think they run a lot of their game plan through Gatman, and I don't know if that one-man squad works as well, especially once you're getting into Challenger and higher level play. So I think I'd favor Rochester.
Okay. Clash, you
Picking on the
disagree on this one. Run us through, because on yours, you had Mankato taking this one in 6. What do you think?
I do, yeah. Like I mentioned, whenever we played Atlas, it felt like we couldn't do anything. Like they had just so much. They played such a more high level game than us. I feel like Rhythm play a consistent and solid game. Atlas have that pop off potential that just can't really be matched, and have that solidness to back it up. Kind of spoils the next one, but I think this one is very close. But I do think, honestly, these are the best 2 teams in Challenger, and I think whoever wins this one wins the major. So I do think I favor Atlas. I have them in 6, but Rhythm, I don't want to down credit Rhythm because I think they're a fantastic squad as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that pop-off potential is why I gave the edge to Rochester in this one. I think that the Atlas are a little more one-dimensional than Rochester's Challenger squad. So I also, with Bubbly, had Rochester taking this one. I had it going to Game 7. I think that this is going to be a very, very close match, but I got to agree that I think that Rochester has the edge. So we'll give this one a close one. But in the finals, Burnsville versus Rochester. Does anybody disagree that they think that Rochester won't win if they take it to the finals? Oh,
No.
somebody does. Wait a minute.
No, because I thought it was
Oh,
the
okay. Oh,
Flyers
yeah.
in the finals.
Clash.
I was like, Burnsville's a step above the Flyers, but I think if Rochester makes it, and at this point they've beaten the Atlas, I think they'll take it over Burnsville, because I think they have a higher ceiling than Burnsville has. Like, I think Burnsville getting that 1 seed in that week 1, like, might be where they peak.
Yeah.
Pop off.
Clash, you had the Atlas beating Rochester, but if you think that Rochester can beat the Atlas, I mean, what are your thoughts on heading into the finals?
Yeah, if Rochester beat the Atlas, like I said in that last one, I think whoever wins Atlas versus Rhythm are going to take this one. So yes, I do have. I would say Rhythm for sure in this one, but again, Inferno looked really good in that major.
Yeah, I gotta agree that Challenger, like you said, Clash, is that it really is the biggest melting pot within the league. We have so many bubble players on either side that who knows what's going to happen. It really comes down to who's going to perform the best on the day of the game. But interesting, definitely kind of a shift from where I thought this was going to end up. But here's where we landed. Rochester taking that one. Now, let's head over to Premier. And Bubbly, I'm very curious your thoughts on this one. I believe that Premier was the only one where we saw the number 1 seed get dropped from Swiss, if I'm remembering correctly here. But
Yeah,
we
I think so.
Arguably the biggest upset here. So let's start. Go ahead. We're just gonna start at the top. I had Fargo sweeping against Hibbing. Does anybody think that Fargo loses this one?
I did. I predicted them to lose to him.
Oh, really? All right.
I did.
Share the
yeah.
crack with the crowd. What are you thinking?
Well, there's definitely some bias that I love trash. I love fishy. And I don't know him personally that well, but I've heard he's been around MCS for a while. He's a well-liked guy. And, looking back at their series, when they played previously, every single game was a 1-goal game with Fargo's new roster. And so I think everyone's super hyped up on Fargo. Fargo might go into it thinking, we've already clinched lay-in, take it back a little easy. And Hibbing is fighting tooth and nail for that last spot. I think they come out swinging. I think they take it to Fargo, but, I think I'm going to get outvoted here.
You will get outvoted. Clash,
You will get outvoted.
what are you thinking for this matchup?
I think Steelhawks were the best looking team through the major. They proved it with the number 1 seed. The other one would be the Derecho. They also went 3-0, but I think Steelhawks looked a little better. They beat 3 teams that all qualified into this bracket. I think I predicted them before the major happened, before the Swiss happened, to win the whole thing, and I'm sticking with that Fargo squad right now. I think that they're looking real good.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Fuego in chat saying they didn't clinch top 4. They're still hungry, and I think that we saw that from their play. That Remzik Fuego combo is so deadly. Remzik looked so freaking good on Saturday. I mean, he was the control that we were seeing from him every time that man got the ball, it was either a pass or a solo play. It did not matter. He was setting up from everywhere on the field. And I mean, yeah, he's got such solid teammates behind him, backing him up. Ches, another previous player in the MCS who has a lot of history. I mean, I would be hard pressed to see them lose this one. But Bubbly, to your credit, I mean, Hibbing looked very, very solid. And on paper, that squad looks so good. It's so weird to me that heading into this major, that they weren't higher seeded. I mean, they were, 13th, 14th heading into the major?
I think their entire roster changed in the middle of the season.
Well,
so
ignore
big
okay,
uphill
all right, all right, all
battle.
right, all right.
So,
Big uphill battle. I'll give them one,
but
but Fargo
I don't
looks
deny Fargo's the favorite.
yeah.
Yeah.
They look so solid. St. Cloud versus Chicago. This is definitely a more interesting matchup that I think all of us are aligned on here. Bubbly, go ahead and spoil to the crowd. What do we all think about this one?
Well, word on the street, Giski, their, second pick overall in the draft, kind of the hard carry of that team, is most likely not going to make it. They also picked up Brave, and I don't believe he's playing.
Hmm.
So I believe they're playing with a second round Premier player and two Challenger sub ups. And it is very sad because I think this would have been a great matchup to see because I think a lot of people look at Mogi on the St. Cloud Flyers as like a hard carry player. A lot of people look at Gusky on Chicago as a hard carry player. I think it
Hmm.
would have been a great series to watch, a lot of fun, but with the roster difficulty there, we'll see if it actually happens. There's still time to rearrange schedules. We'll
Yeah.
see Saturday, but I think I'm predicting St. Cloud 4-0 sweep.
Clash,
Get
did
out that way.
you know about the Gusky needing a sub heading
I
into the
did
series?
not.
No.
I did not prior to making the prediction. I still was going to have the Flyers in 7, but with 2 subs, I am totally in agreement with Bubbly. I think 4-0 sweep in favor of Flyers.
Yeah, I mean, I had a 4-0 as well. Bubbly had a 4-0 on this one. It's just too tough. Premier is so high skill level that,
Hmm.
I mean, we saw it from Rochester that they made a push, having a sub throughout, I believe, half of their matches. But we saw them have their full roster in the final game that they played in their last series, where Olvi
Mid-series
swapped out
dub.
for Skies, and it still just wasn't enough. But regardless, having a sub is very detrimental at this level of play that we're seeing, especially with the pressure of the major. So, yeah, if Chicago isn't at full roster, it's not very close. If Chicago is at full roster, I would say this goes to 7, and either team could take it. And I don't think
Yeah.
anybody here would disagree on that one. But let's go ahead and hop down to the next teams here. We've talked about the Des Moines Derecho clash. You already touched base on them, so I want you to start off talking about your thoughts on how this matchup goes.
Yeah. So I did talk about the derecho looking real good in that Swiss stage, but I want to talk about the Senators as well. I think they're one of the most underrated teams going into this bracket. I actually have the Senators favored here, just slightly. I think this is such a close matchup. I think I, it's tough because most people like to talk about that first round player on every roster. I want to talk about the third round. Sean, I think he is one of the best uh, best floors to have for a team. I think he's such a good support player. Um, you can't do it with one player. Obviously, you can have someone that's above the rest and can carry the team a little bit, but without the support from um, some other players, it's going to be tough. And I think Sean is such a great player, and Crispy. I think it's a great roster, and they look solid in the major. Not quite as solid as Derecho, which is interesting that I'm predicting Senators, but I just really like that roster.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So then, Bubbly, I know you disagree with that take. What are your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts are, Clash said it at the end. There's a little bias in his take against Senators because Des Moines, they looked like the more solid team. I think End coming into St. Paul so late in the season, he's done great to make it this far. They're probably going to land unless some crazy results happen. And so I'm excited to see how they play on land. But I do think Des Moines is just a little bit better, just one step up from the level that St. Paul can reach.
Yeah.
And with Bryant, Wolf, and Nate, they're all such fun players when they play, and so I don't think the pressure will get to them at all. And
Yeah.
I think we could see them go all the way.
I also had Derecho taking this one. But big shout out to Blakester for really hanging in there. I mean, he got hit so hard by having his first round overall pick just not even play a single game. We did not see
Yeah.
Caden play a single game this season, which not totally his fault, obviously, whatever. But I mean, Blakester really kept that squad alive by even giving them a chance to have good seeding heading into this past major. I mean,
And land.
and land. I mean, I think if they had a better or a first overall pick, any first overall pick, who would have actually played, they likely would have auto qualified. They looked so solid. But yeah, I also have this one going to Des Moines. As much as I think that St. Paul would put up a fight in this series, I mean, that pinch from Wolf was so
It was
peak.
sweet.
Oh my gosh. Go back, check out the clips. If you haven't seen the clip, it doesn't matter. You're going to see it at LAN in the hype video that we throw out here.
In the bubbly car.
In the bubbly car,
Shinjuku.
yeah, not in the Grayson car as we've all come to know it. Regardless, no. Yeah, I also had Des Moines taking this one. I think that they look just a little bit better than St. Paul, but that's gonna be a tight series. Burnsville versus Atlas. Me and Bubbly are in agreement on this one. Clash, go ahead and run through your thoughts on how this matches up before we tell you you're wrong.
I am surprised that you guys are both doubting Inferno. They have been so good throughout the season. I think this is a fantastic matchup. Atlas are a great team. I had the chance to play them as well. I was subbing up for the major, and we got to play them in round one, and they look solid. But I think Inferno, in my opinion, are the best team play team in Premier. I don't think any one of them obviously notices the top player there, but I don't think he's what most would say like the carry of that team. I think every single one of those players puts in a ton of work, and I think they're the most well-rounded team, and I have them favored. I think they've shown it throughout the season. They came into this one as a very high seed. They are currently first in the standings, and I am favoring them.
Yeah. Oh, I just might have gotten some interesting. I'm gonna go dive into this. So Bubbly, I think you and I might have similar thoughts on why we disagree with that and why we think the Atlas will take it. But why do you think the Atlas kind of edge out the Inferno here?
I just like the Atlas a lot better. I think it's more that I don't like Burnsville as much, and less that I think Atlas is that much better. Because that's kind of been the story for Inferno all season, is people are like, oh, they're playing like bad teams at the start of the season, and they kept winning. Like, oh, they're playing teams without their full roster, but they just kept winning. And I think Burnsville this whole season has just kind of been doubted a little bit per year, just from my perspective. And, I think they can overcome it because they have every time people have doubted them. But, Fusion Bleach, he's the Atlas's second round pick, and he's up in contention for top 5 in a lot of stats. I think Night Fang, big ones player, he's really strong when he's playing well. And I think everybody knows Ambrosia's peak is super high. So when he has motivation, he's ready to play the game, I think Mankato Atlas have what it takes to win it all.
Yeah, I gotta agree. It's the adaptability on the side of the Atlas. I really think that Burnsville is more one-dimensional than people think on their roster. We saw them very demo heavy at the start of the season, very offensive heavy, and they just can't shine against teams that are able to change how they're playing against that or against that sort of play style. And I think that that's why Green Bay was able to beat them in the first major, was that they didn't just keep, throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. They changed their patterns and their rotations, and shifted how they're playing. I definitely think that this can be one of the more interesting series to watch, and we might end up seeing it on stream. I did get a little info. We'll touch base on it. It's not for Premiere. It is for Rising Star. It probably changes what we think about Rising Star, but yeah. Anyway. So stick around for just a second. Fargo versus St. Cloud. It looks like, I mean, we all had St. Cloud losing. Somebody had St. Cloud not getting there, but Bubbly, you were the one. You had Hibbing originally taking the Fargo versus Steelhawks. I'm sorry, Fargo versus Steelhawks. Flyers versus Rangers. I got to stick with the team names. What are your thoughts?
Fargo versus Rangers.
Yeah. If we're taking a look at Steelhawks versus Flyers, what are your thoughts here?
I think Steelhawks, they're still the favorite, right? Both these teams, the Steelhawks and the Flyers, are still like trying to reach that top four spot, get that extra life at land. And so I think if both teams are playing like up to their potential, I think Steelhawks just have that little extra. So I think if Remzik is playing as good as he was week one, he's able to save everything. I don't think there's enough follow up to Mogi's solo plays to get past the rest of Steelhawks.
Mm.
And the creativity they have on offense, I think will just, you know, beat the Flyers.
Yeah.
So
Clash, what do you think about this one? You had Steelhawks being the Flyers.
Yes, I agree. I think Steelhawks, they have so many different ways to make offense. I know Ches goes for a lot of demos, and they have a lot of a lot of high flying potential too. I think they just have so many more options on how to attack. So yeah, I think Steelhawks in 5. I think they're a very solid squad.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll give the Flyers a second one, but one thing we haven't really touched on is momentum. Coming off of a win
Mm.
is so big here. We really saw it in the throughout week one. Some of the lower teams upsetting when they got to that round 5 matchup, just because they were coming off of a win, able to carry that through and turn it into another win. I kind of expect to see that here for Fargo if they're able to beat Hibbing. I think that the momentum is just gonna be too big for him. But Derecho versus Mankato. What Bubbly? You and I kind of align on this one. What are your thoughts?
I still think Mankato, that if they're winning against Burnsville, they're like, we took down one top seed. I think they just keep going and run with it. So I have them winning against Derecho 4-2, 4-1, I think I put. And then I have them sweeping in the final too. Just like you were talking about the momentum of it, that they're winning, I think they're gonna win out all the way.
Yeah.
Mm.
Clash. Do you agree? Disagree?
You said you were lying, and I think you're disagreeing. But
I
I
changed my
didn't.
mind. I changed my mind. We're
Oh, okay, okay, interesting. I didn't have either of these teams going through, but I think if they do, um, man, I really like. Man,
It's okay to disagree and be wrong.
it's
It's
I
fine.
I really like Bryant. I Man, it's a really close matchup, but I think I'm favoring Derecho. Yeah, if Bryant plays the way he did in the major, I think they have such a solid shot here. I
yeah.
think it's extremely close, but I'm favoring Derecho.
That Bryant buff I originally had going into this one,
Okay.
but after we've kind of been discussing, was I muted for you guys? Can you hear me now? Uh, I muted for
Uh-oh.
you guys now.
Oh,
Stream can hear me. Ignore
Okay,
ignore the
okay.
Discord call. No, originally I was leaning towards Derecho on this one. I think that that Bryant buff is kind of big, but anyway, Atlas, I have to agree. Kind of take this one if they're able to take round one. I think that momentum is kind of big on their side, and I gotta agree with Bubbly. We'll go ahead. We'll say that this one goes to Game 7. This is definitely gonna be one to watch out for. But I love this final matchup: Fargo versus Mankato.
good matchup.
We've got, yeah, I mean, Ambrosia versus Fuego. I mean, who doesn't love that? But what are your thoughts, Bubbly, on this one as the premier player who's had to play against both these teams?
As the premier player who's had to play against both of these teams, I don't think I've played against Fargo with their newest roster iteration
Mm.
with Ches Remzik and
Oh, really?
Fuego.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I know. So, maybe that's why I'm so high on Mankato. I really like how they approach the game. Like you were saying, their adaptability. They all have ones experience, they all have mechanics, and they still have the team plays that they have. But this whole time we're saying Fargo's winning because of their creativity. They got demos, they got passing plays. I feel like this is possibly the closest matchup ever seen.
Mm.
I could see
Agreed.
it going either way. I definitely game 6, game 7 is going to be really funny when it's a sweep on stream. But
Spoilers.
you
Don't leak the script. Come on, man.
I give it to Mankato just because I like their momentum better coming into it, especially qualifying in round 5 of Swiss. It's like they've played more, they're going through it. Where
Yeah.
I feel like we can't just expect Fargo to keep winning and be all high on them
Interesting.
just because of the new roster.
Okay,
But
that's a fair take. Clash, tell him why he's wrong.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're gonna do because they keep winning. I'm gonna predict them to win. Um, Steelhawks, I think it just looked so good. I predicted them to win before the major ever happened, um, and I'm sticking with that. Steelhawks going all the way, but it should be a really good match.
you
Yeah.
also predicted Omaha top 3 though, so
Yeah, I mean,
It's true, and I was very wrong about that. Come on, Bubbly.
I would have predicted Omaha going all the distance, but yeah, Steelhawks look so good right now. I had Burnsville originally getting, or no, Clash had Burnsville. I'm just reading the stuff wrong. No, I had Des Moines getting through all the way, but I think even if it doesn't matter which team faces up against the Steelhawks, they're going to be coming off of a lot of momentum. They're going to be looking really good on the day. So if they get to this point, I'd be hard pressed to see Fargo lose this one. So interesting. Definitely a handful of opinions that maybe everybody doesn't agree with, and the only way to see this get settled is going to be on the field over the course of this weekend. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, keep an eye out on these matches, guys. We're
what's
going to
the
have
Rising Star news?
Ooh, yeah, thanks for the reminder. So I got word that Lord will not be playing
Whoa!
for Rochester,
Whoa!
and that Endeavors will not be able to play round 1 at least. He likely might not be able to play
Wait, so if
on the day.
wait,
So for sure no
Lord, if
Lord,
Lord
for
can't,
sure not End for the first series.
So doesn't that mean
so
they have
so
to
that just means
forfeit?
they have to forfeit, right?
I don't know how the Rising Star sub ruling.
Yeah, no,
works.
you're right. That that maths out. I hadn't connected those two dots. No, you're 100% right. That just means
Whoa!
a round 1 forfeit. Unless if it means that well, who's the starters for Rochester? Let me pull them up real quick here. Rochester. There they
I
are.
think Endeavor starts,
Lord,
doesn't it?
Blaudat, and Endeavors. So maybe Endeavors can play for the first round, but can't play for the rounds after.
Huh.
But yeah, there might be a forfeit for Rochester in round 1, which let's go.
That's the 3 match currently. So
Yeah, well, because that's how it got brought up, is that I was talking with Stewie about how we might want to shift the Premier round 1 on stream, because originally we were looking at having Flyers versus Jungle, but knowing that Gusky won't be there, if we wanted to shift that first match. But yeah, Stewie also having heard that Blaudat won't be able to play, so
Wow. Wait,
well,
Blaudat or
who always?
so for sure, Blaudat for
Everybody's going.
Rochester. For sure, Blaudat said is what it said, and I just started
Okay.
that. So for sure, no Lord, possibly no End. That's a really big hit for that squad.
They might lose that.
Anybody in
round 1
chat want to
matchup
leak
then.
anything else? Feel free to go ahead and throw it out.
Yeah, have at it.
We've already
Who all
had. It
is
sounds like
skipping the
Mace
second
won't be
week?
playing for or no, won't be at LAN, but that's a separate issue that I get to deal with now following this stream. But no.
Uh-oh.
All right, guys, sick. That was awesome. Such a fun chat to kind of have here, and with how the season has been shaping up, where very few teams are safe here. We've only had 5 teams total, so 2 in Premier, 1 in Challenger, and 2 in Rising Star actually clinched top 4. I believe we have 2 slots Premier, 2 slots Challenger up for grab for LAN, and then 3 slots for Rising Star still up for grab. So, I mean, this season is definitely one of the most exciting as far as qualifications go for LAN. But we're going to talk about now how players have been performing, and we're going to do a little trivia, a little quick trivia here. So, close your eyes. I didn't mean to show that. Nobody saw that. Nobody saw
I
that.
didn't see it.
Perfect.
I didn't see
Beautiful.
Wait, show it again.
Wait, show it again. Where did I put this? So what we're going to do here is I would like you guys to guess one player for, we have assists, we have demos, and we have saves. I'm not doing goals just because Stewie already threw that out. We'll touch base on the top goal scorers from each league. But essentially what this is this is all stats from League Play, Major 1, and Major 2 Week 1. There was an 18 game requirement, so you had to have played at least 3 or 6 series, well, possibly less. Whatever, statisticians out there will
Yeah.
say he's wrong. But
He is.
an 18 game requirement. There's no retired players on this list, but there are free agents who were dropped that are still eligible to be picked up.
Ooh.
So we're going to do saves, demos, and assists in that order for each league. So first for Rising Star, I have 5 players. The player you want to guess the first overall player. If you guess that player, it's worth 5 points. If you guess the second player, it's 4, 3, 2, and 1 going down the list. So Bubbly, for Rising Star, who do you think has the most saves?
The most saves. I'm gonna go CTN.
CTN.
CT Nivlak.
Okay. Clash, what do you think?
Going with T-Jack.
T-Jack for the most saves. I really hope I have this set up in order already. I do. Perfect. Beautiful. Carl's Nuts actually going to be the top overall, and only Bubbly
1
getting a
point.
point on that one. I would have also gone CTN on that. He is, like we mentioned, just such a defensive heavy player who kind of fills in for the rest of his squad, that it's not terribly surprising to see him there. But Carl's Nuts first overall, not making week 2, whatever that means. Yeah, take over in that number 2 slot.
Yeah.
I don't believe that he missed a single series throughout the whole entire season, so pretty impressive. Rees for Chicago, I believe he was the sub for that squad. I'm kind of surprised to see him up
I
there.
thought he was
No,
their
he was
first
first
pick.
overall.
No, he was.
Ignore
He was.
me.
Was he drafted or was he
He might have been a pick.
picked up a free
I don't
agent?
recognize
he
the
was a free
name.
agent.
He might have been.
I think he was a free agent.
And then Jigsaw for Duluth. He did transfer. He started off on Rochester and moved over. But CTN getting Bubbly a point there. All right, demos. Demos for Rising Star. Bubbly, you got the last one correct. Who do you think has the most demos in Rising Star? No
Not gonna
Bob in
lie,
Rising Star.
I have no idea, but I was talking to Clash a little before he joined
Unfortunate.
BC, and he was like, "Why busy?" He's a guy.
Why busy?
So that's who I'm picking.
Interesting.
Oh wait, no,
Yeah.
Caesar. Caesar's in it.
Caesar
I'm
is
picking
in it.
Caesar.
Oh.
I'm picking Caesar. In my head, I think of him as a challenger player. But
I was really sad that I talked to him about this beforehand because once I heard that this was happening, I was sad that I said something. But I am going why busy, so I'm glad that you didn't go
True.
why busy. I think we'll see who gets this one.
Why Busy performed very well during the major. He was one of the players who was up there for all-time stats in the major when I was digging through stuff. But for this one, Endeavors, actually the number 1 overall. Why Busy third? So a really good guess there from Clash. Yeah. And no Caesar on this one. I think Caesar has to be a little bit more of an offensive heavy forward or player in the roster that he's currently in to get more demos. But Mal, a challenger player now. Funny to see that one up there. Shout out him.
Yeah, very interesting.
Bob, bro, maybe I got a demo in a game. You can't if you're in challenger. That is not how this one works out. So Clash leading 3-1 now. Heading into the next one, assists for Rising Star. Clash, who do you think has the most assists for Rising Star?
Oh man, I want to go with Blodot.
That's a good guess. Well, he did start as challenger and then moved to
maybe not.
No,
right? Or was that Lord? That's Lord. I'm thinking of.
Blodot was.
He was Atlas,
was Rising
right?
Star the whole
He was
time.
Atlas, and then he moved over to Rochester.
Yeah, Blodot was Rising Star the whole time. Lord was Challenger, and then got dropped down.
Okay, so Blodot for Clash. Bubbly, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna go Blasky just because I think Ori scores a lot.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, sneaky. I definitely like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Blodot
Hey.
second.
Oh.
Ninja. Ninja.
Let's go, Ninja.
Was he a sub for?
Yeah, he's the blooming smaller sub.
Dang, taking first overall,
They are
0.86. Dang, good for him. Zoms. And then we had a couple ties for fourth there, Crip and Why Busy. I think there might have been one more tie for fourth outside of that. But sick, massive pick there for
It was
Blodot.
probably Blasky. Just give me a point.
Yeah. You get a big fat 0. All right. Bubbly way far behind now, which means that we get Clash to go next. I think that Clash has the edge on this one, given he played in this league. Clash, what challenger player had the most saves that you think?
Oh man, the most saves. Hang on, let me go through.
Hold on,
Search
let
the
me
Mind
scroll.
Palace.
I gotta look at all these rosters real quick. I'm gonna go with 40.
Ooh, 40 is a good one.
That's a good guess.
But he was a first overall. I mean, I feel like the first overall picks usually have to be the scorers, no?
Not always.
Not always.
Not always.
Okay, well, I'm wrong.
You ever heard of Bryant?
I never heard of Brian. I also heard that he's a defensive player, so.
Maybe not this season.
Okay, 40 for Clash. Bubbly, what do you think?
I can't pick. I'm stuck between slow and gas.
Slow's a good one. He started
I was thinking
Premier,
slow
right?
as well.
Not this season.
No, this season he started.
not-
Oh yeah, he wasn't
I think
available.
I'm
He was on
Slow.
another roster.
You're gonna
We're
go
going
slow.
slow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slow. Interesting choice.
I was thinking slow as well.
No points for anybody
point.
on that
Oh,
one.
Carl's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
The
okay.
super sub from Carl.
Gavalanche, really?
That's I wonder if these stats are goofed up because I wonder if that's
I don't know
taking
if I
his.
like it.
That must be taking his premier games and
Because
putting it in
Avalanche
there
didn't play
until
that
after the
long.
second.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if he played.
Yeah,
Would have played
I
enough
could
games.
see
it wouldn't surprise
that
me to
enough games?
see him go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely had enough because after the second
Okay.
trade window is when, which was immediately after the first major.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see 2 Fargo, though.
Yeah,
I didn't
Rembo
think they were that
also.
defensive.
TKD though, also not somebody who you think of as a defensive player up here.
Oh no, he is TKD. He plays. It's an interesting person to play with, but I've heard from some
Understatement
people
of the
like
century.
if you want someone to play defense for you, if you want to assign someone to take a 1v3, put
True.
TKD on the back line.
True.
Put TKD on the back line.
He's
He'll
so
save
mechanical
anything.
and he's so smart in his solo plays. Yeah, I guess that's a fair point. Not terribly surprising to see him down there. No points on that round. We've had points every single time except for that one. Demos now for Challenger. Somebody has to pick Bob, and I believe that Clash, you're still in the lead. You go first.
I don't believe Bob is the top. I believe I am higher than Bob.
Oh no, he's
dang.
keeping track.
But I'm pretty sure it's Wubik. I think Wubik is number 1 right
Oh,
now.
that's a good one. Yeah.
I'm picking Clash, though. I believe in Clash. He's got to be up there at least.
I'm definitely up there. But I don't know if I'm
At
top.
least some points.
I don't know if I'm top.
I love it. Wubik versus Clash on this one. It is Wubik, and Clash is
Oh,
also
no.
on this list. Here was the
Yeah,
one where we
why
saw
does he-
Slip, though. Like, we had 2 players from Minneapolis on this one. What is going on that roster?
Isn't why does he Rising
He
Star?
is Rising
He
Star.
subbed a
He
lot.
must have.
He subbed
Yeah.
a lot.
Ooh,
He subbed for Steiner most weeks.
Dang.
did not know
Clash,
that.
you went
Could've picked him.
Wubik. That was big for your points there, extending the lead. Massive. But yeah, both of you guys, and I mean, 2 players from Rochester also on this lineup. Interesting. Assists now. So taking a look at assists for Challenger. Clash, you got the most points on that last one. Bubbly, I want you to start off first on this one.
Oh no.
Assists.
Can I just say Olby?
Correct.
Olvai's
'Cause
a
I
good
think
guess.
Rubik
That's a good
doesn't
guess.
Score a lot.
What if his teammates are demoing? Do you think that he's getting assists?
I think so. Why not?
Okay. Olvai?
Prove me wrong.
Yeah, I hope to. Clash, what do you think?
Interesting. I think I'm gonna go with Talks.
Talks. That's a really good one, especially with, I believe we saw Gatman had the most goals in Challenger.
I should have looked at the goals.
You definitely should have.
I didn't actually.
Oh no.
Oh man,
Wow.
big there for.
I didn't even see the goals, to be honest. I just love that duo of Gat and Talks.
Yeah, Stewie
Wow.
posted yesterday, I believe, that Gatman had the most. He posted the most
on.
goals for each league level in the league chats.
Pulling it up.
Um,
Pulling it up.
checking. Nick, though, and Lord tied for 3rd. That's super cool that Lord, during his time on Rochester, was able to get, I mean, at least something up there. But yeah, Mankato showing why they're such a strong challenger team. Okay, Premier, here's your chance, Bubbly. Here is your chance to pull ahead. Clash,
There
you
is
got the
no
last
chance.
one. You get to go first. Clash, who do you think had the most saves in Premier? There is a right answer.
Oh boy, yeah, I don't know what the right answer is though for this one. Yeah, this is where you probably step ahead.
I don't know.
Dang, I'm gonna. Going through rosters. I'm going with Notice.
Interesting. Going with the team that is the most offensive heavy, taking notice.
Yeah.
Okay, saves. Bubbly, what do you think?
Am I allowed to ask if Remzik is eligible?
Uh,
Because I think I'm
Remzik
choosing Remzik
is
if
eligible, I
he
do
has enough
believe.
games. Yeah, we're going Remzik.
That's interesting that neither. Are you sure? I don't.
Okay, I'll
No.
switch.
It's interesting nobody went for Bryant because Bryant would have been my first thought given his performance last
If you
season.
ask about last
And he
season,
is.
whoa.
No, yeah. Bryant really showing off this season. Was Cato Mack drafted to Minneapolis or was he a late pickup?
He was their first round challenger. And he
Okay.
got
Oh,
moved
that's
up in
right.
the
And then
middle of
he
the
moved up.
season.
Was it Slip that they dropped down?
Jives, I think, couldn't
Yeah,
play in Premier
Slip
anymore.
dropped.
I thought it was.
But then also Slip.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
was
Slip
both of them.
dropped down to Challenger, and Jives got dropped.
Couldn't play
I
anymore.
do believe we saw. It's interesting to see Sauce up here. I don't know if you guys have seen Flo. Big
That's
shout out
right.
to Flo if you're in chat right now. He was posting some like the what would you call that, Bubbly? Do you know what the specific term for the sort of graph that he was throwing out?
I don't know the
I
term
can't
for
go
it.
dig for it.
It's
Anyway,
on ball
yeah, if you
chasing
pull up ball
somewhere,
chasing,
but
it shows how you perform compared to other people. He put up how
the big
how
pentagon.
yeah,
Like,
it was
player map.
literally
Player map.
yeah, the player map. There you go. It was literally Sauce
go.
was the only player essentially playing Bemidji.
He had like one stat that was
Yeah.
lower than a
Yeah,
couple
it was
others, but
absolutely
every
crazy.
other one.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. Nobody going Bryant, big underdog there. All right, so we got two more to go, and I don't think that there's any way anybody can catch up in this point. But demos, Clash, you went first
Clash,
last
you go
time. You're up
first.
first.
I'm going with Ches.
Oh,
Ches
but
is a
that's
good
the right
one.
answer. Ches is first.
You can
My bad, my
copy.
bad.
There's no rule
Ches.
against going with the same
I
answer.
choose Ches.
You also choose Ches? Okay, I hope
Because I
you
think
guys are
he's
wrong.
first and I'm
You're
second.
so wrong. Clash is
Oh,
second.
That's
no
me.
shot.
And Bubbly's third. That's so fun.
You must have barely hit enough points. Wait, but Ches has more.
Wait, I have less. Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Stewie.
Oh, Stewie!
is 2.38.
WTF?
Ches is on top.
Ches is on top. All right. Well, it not like it changed anything, but
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
so Bubbly and Clash competing for that second
Flash
spot.
above me though.
He's quite a bit above you. He also has less games, so that
Yeah,
would
this
mean
is
his
true.
ratio is better.
I honestly would have predicted myself if I thought I had enough games, but I didn't think I had enough games.
This must
'Cause
include the major.
I was. Oh, it has to include the major.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah,
no,
I
it
played
includes
in the
both majors
Gotcha.
so far. It's
That'll do it.
up to
Yeah.
date.
Because I only played three weeks for Premier in league play, so I didn't think I would have enough. But I guess major
Well,
did it. I knew I
You
had a
when I
ton of
saw
demos.
Stewie make it the first time. This is the only one I watched him make. So-
It's funny you bring that up because Chaz and Bubbly are the only two premier players on this list. Clash, Dicey, and Nick are
Yeah.
all challenger
Yeah.
players. So interesting.
Demo's bad.
Demos,
Get him
yeah,
out of Premiere.
shifting down. All right, last one, assist, Clash. You're in the lead here. I don't think there's any way you can lose this one, but go ahead.
Unless you're wrong.
I guess I'm going to go back to Notice since you said that they're super offensive. So a lot of assists coming from them probably.
That's a good one. Bubbly.
I have to notice. I want to throw out someone from the Knights because I feel like they
Ooh,
gotta.
good.
I
That's a good idea.
I don't know if I want to do Volt or Mamba though. I think Mamba scores more than Volt, so I think Volt.
I also would
Volt
think that
scorer.
Mamba scores more than Volt. I know that earlier at the halfway point of the season, I believe that Volt and Mamba both had the most goals and assists between the two of them.
Yeah.
So none of those players here in the
Wow.
assist category.
Oh, no.
Johnny Law, Ambrosia, and Fusion
That was
Bleach.
the passing team.
Which, that's interesting that Nightfang wasn't up there in goals. I guess they hit the crossbar a lot, so that probably
Oh no.
drags him down a little
That's
bit.
crazy.
But Fuego,
They
Mogi,
did.
and Tater also up there. Interesting to see
Yeah.
Tater down there. I thought he would have been more of a scorer, and that Daffy might have been, or
Well-
even you, setting up people.
I think similar to Mogi, it's just like leading the charge and then teammates
Hmm.
scoring rebounds kind of thing. Like, I don't think any of these numbers were as high as Rising Star or Challenger, where there's like more open passing lanes that are like direct goals.
Yeah. Well, no points in that final one means Clash takes this one pretty handedly.
Not even close.
22-8. Clash knows his stuff. Rising Star Challenger. Neither of you guys knew Premier, which is
Nope.
fascinating. But
Yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you guys a
'cause
ton.
we didn't guess Bryant.
You should have guessed Bryant. It's crazy to me that nobody went Bryant on that one. That's
He
gonna
plays
do it.
offense this season.
He has
I'm
been.
sorry,
Oh
I
my
keep
gosh.
cutting you
He
off.
has. No, you're totally right. He has been playing offense on. But I feel like, would you say Nate's the defensive player? Because it's not Wolf. That guy barely can hold
Is
a
it not
controller.
Wolf?
I don't.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased because of that clip that he hit. That I think it wouldn't be
I
Wolf.
think so.
Maybe.
Anyway, rambling done.
Rambling done. No.
Close us out.
Yeah,
Go to
we're
your
gonna
scrim.
wrap this one up, especially because we're running slightly over time, and I have a scrim in 9 minutes here.
Overtime.
But he's. Thank you, Clash. Thank you. No. Thank you, Clash and Bubbly, for coming and joining me during this one. Real quick, I do have to plug one thing: LAN tickets on sale. Get your LAN tickets now.
Buy tickets.
It wouldn't surprise me to see this LAN sell out, especially for spectators. This is also the only season where we have ever had a deal where if you buy a player and a spectator ticket at the same time, you get a discount. So if you have family coming, friends that are interested in coming, definitely go ahead and jump on that bundle there. But this season is shaping up to be so exciting. I mean, as you guys saw, how many differing opinions we had just based upon how we think that this next major is going to shape out. LAN is going to be even crazier. So get your ticket. I scanned the QR code earlier to make sure it wasn't a virus for you guys. You're welcome. Definitely not a fan of having QR codes that you scan on stream, but maybe Stewie is using my phone to mine Bitcoin right now. But regardless, either of you guys have any final thoughts? Bubbly, anything to say to the people before we go?
I think I'm just really excited for the stream matches coming up. I wish we could stream more of the quarterfinals matches, but maybe community streams.
Yes,
We'll see.
please get
Lots
some
of exciting
streams.
matches.
Shout out all of you guys who streamed during Challenger, the Challenger night. Really, that was super helpful. Clash, what do you got?
I'm just very excited. I believe I'll be casting tomorrow, so I'm excited to cast some Running Star. I'm not sure. I think it's Wolf streaming that, but yeah, it'll be good matches, and yeah, we've been left with a lot of really good teams and a lot of really good scenarios that we're gonna have to fight through in this major.
Yeah, that's a good point. Honestly, I'll have to double check who's available to stream for tomorrow, because I might want to get some in. I'll be streaming the Challenger games on Friday, and the Stewie will be taking over on Saturday. So your premiere stream is going to be top notch this week. Shout out whoever knocked them out from the major.
Top-notch, quick.
No, shout out everybody that came and stuck around for us to ramble and talk about this sort of stuff. We're going to have one more overtime stream in 2 weeks after the major before LAN to just kind of do some final recaps and that sort of stuff. But thank you guys all for coming and chilling with us. And yeah, catch us tomorrow, 6 p.m. I don't know why the music paused. Go back. There it is. All right. We're out of here. We'll catch you guys later.
Keeps breaking. Caught up in the storm, but all the survivors looking up for love in a little bit of darkness. Hold each other up when we're falling down. Never give it up because we are the fighters. Caught up shit.